The 1960s. An era of moon landings, muscle cars, and American automotive might. Detroit was the king of the world, pumping out icons like the Mustang, the Corvette, and the Impala. But for every shining chrome hero, there was a lemon hiding in the showroom. What if I told you that this golden age also gave birth to some of the most poorly built, dangerously flawed, and downright bizarre cars ever to sputter down an American highway? Cars that didn't just disappoint their owners, they betrayed the very promise of American ingenuity. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're not celebrating the legends. We're exposing the failures. We're counting down the top 10 worst cars of the 1960s. These are the automotive disasters that tried to coast on style over substance, and left a trail of rust, regret, and repair bills in their wake. And before we dive into this hall of shame, if you love untold stories of automotive history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We dig deep into the stories the car brochures never told you, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's get into it. Number 10, the 1963 to 1965 Chevrolet Corvair Monza. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a car that's infamous for one book, Unsafe at Any Speed by Ralph Nader. The Chevrolet Corvair, particularly the early 1960 to 1964 models, was America's answer to the Volkswagen Beetle, a compact, rear-engine, air-cooled economy car. It was innovative. But its engineering had a fatal flaw. To save money, Chevrolet used a simplistic swing-axle rear suspension. Under certain conditions, like taking a turn too quickly, the rear wheels could tuck under, causing the car to violently roll over. Combine that with a steering system that could become heavy and unresponsive, and you had a recipe for disaster. GM spent millions settling lawsuits. The Corvair wasn't all bad, later models fixed the issues, but its early legacy is one of corporate negligence that put style and cost-cutting over human lives. It's the car that sparked the consumer safety movement, and for all the wrong reasons. Number 9, the 1961 to 1963 Dodge Dart. At number 9, we have the early 60s Dodge Dart and Plymouth Valiant. Now, hear me out. The slant 6 engine they offered is legendary for its durability. So why is it here? Because the car around it was a penalty box of epic proportions. These were cheap. Thin sheet metal that dented if you looked at it funny. Interiors made from materials that felt like dried oatmeal. They were underpowered, even with the reliable engine, and handled like a shopping cart. They represent the dark side of this economy car, a push vehicle so devoid of joy, so miserably built to a price point, that they made driving a chore. They sold by the boatload because they were affordable, but they fostered no love, no brand loyalty, just resentment. They were the automotive equivalent of plain toast. Number 8. The 1960 to 1963 Ford Falcon. Number 8 might surprise you, the first-generation Ford Falcon. Launched in 1960 to fight the Corvair and Valiant, it was initially a sales success. It was simple, cheap, and reliable. So what's the problem? It was a spectacular case of standing still while the world moved on. While Chevy constantly improved the Nova, Ford left the Falcon virtually unchanged. It became outdated almost overnight. It was underpowered, its styling became stale, and it developed a reputation for being flimsy and prone to rust. The Falcon is on this list not because it was the absolute worst, but because it was a missed opportunity of monumental scale. It started with promise and fizzled into irrelevance, proving that in the 60s, if you weren't innovating, you were dying. Number 7, the 1967 to 1971 AMC Marlin. Number 7 is a lesson in misguided style, the AMC Marlin. In the mid-60s, that fastback look was hot, thanks to the Mustang. American Motors, AMC, decided to slam a giant, awkward fastback roofline onto their sensible mid-size classic platform. The result was bizarre. The proportions were all wrong, it looked like a fish wearing a top hat. It was expensive, poorly marketed, and handled like a boat because of that heavy glass rear end. AMC thought they were creating a sexy personal luxury car. What they created was an automotive platypus, a weird hybrid that pleased no one. It sold pathetically, cementing AMC's reputation as a company that just didn't get it. Number 6, the 1965 to 1969 Renault R8. For number 6, we crossed the Atlantic for a special kind of failure, the Renault R8 and R10. These French imports were supposed to bring European sophistication to the US. What they brought was unmitigated mechanical misery. Their rear-mounted, four-cylinder engines were anemic and notoriously unreliable in American driving conditions. Parts were non-existent. Most American mechanics had no clue how to fix them. They rusted with impressive speed. Owning one was an exercise in frustration and isolation. The Renault R8 proved that a car could be conceptually interesting but a practical nightmare, especially when thrown into the vast, demanding landscape of America without proper support. Number 5, the 1966 to 1967 Oldsmobile Toronado. Our number 5 pick is a beautiful, powerful, engineering landmark that was a total reliability disaster, the first-generation Oldsmobile Toronado. This was America's first modern front-wheel drive luxury coupe. A bold, brilliant idea. But its bespoke, chain-driven transmission system was hopelessly complex and fragile. It was prone to catastrophic, expensive failures. Owners of this $5,000 plus luxury car, a huge sum in the 60s, were routinely stranded by a drivetrain that couldn't handle the car's own massive 385 horsepower rocket V8. The Toronado is a tragic hero on this list, a car whose ambition was utterly betrayed by its execution. It promised the future but delivered a tow truck bill. Number 4, the 1968 to 1970 AMC Ambassador. Number 4 is the poster child for corporate laziness, the AMC Ambassador. By the late 60s, cash-strapped AMC had one trick: take the humble AMC Rebel, stretch the front end by 5 inches, add some chrome and fancier trim, and call it a premium Ambassador. It was the most transparent, half-hearted rebadging job of the decade. It offered zero meaningful mechanical upgrades over its cheaper sibling. It was a bloated, under-engineered car pretending to be a luxury liner. Consumers saw right through it. The Ambassador didn't fail because it was broken, it failed because it was a lie. It showed a company out of ideas, trying to fool the public. Number 3, the 1960 to 1964 Studebaker Lark. Breaking into our top 3 is a car that carries the weight of a dying company, the Studebaker Lark. When Studebaker launched the compact Lark in 1959, it was a last-ditch effort to survive. And initially, it worked. But by the early 60s, the cracks were fatal. The Lark was built using old, repurposed parts from the 1950s. Its styling was archaic the day it launched. It was plagued by poor build quality, dreadful rust protection, and an overwhelming sense of desperation. Driving a Lark felt like driving a ghost, a relic from a bygone era. It wasn't aggressively terrible, it was tragically, pathetically sad. The Lark is the car that couldn't save Studebaker, and you can feel its failure in every squeak and rattle. Number 2, the 1960 to 1969 Chevrolet Corvair 95 Rampside. The runner-up for worst of the decade is perhaps the most baffling, the Chevrolet Corvair 95 pickup, especially the Rampside. They took the flawed Corvair passenger car and made a truck out of it. With a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine. Its load floor was a tiny, side-loading ramp. It had a minuscule payload capacity. It was underpowered for any real work. It solved a problem that didn't exist with a solution that didn't work. It was a commercial flop of epic proportions, a bizarre footnote that makes you wonder what meeting at GM approved it. It's the ultimate symbol of 60s automotive overreach and flawed thinking. Number 1, the 1966 to 1969 Chevrolet Vega. And now, the number 1 worst car of the 1960s, a car that was so bad, its sins bled into the 1970s and helped destroy Detroit's reputation, the Chevrolet Vega. Now, the Vega technically launched in 1970 as a 1971 model. But it was conceived, designed, and engineered in the late 1960s. It is the pure, unadulterated product of 1960s Detroit's worst impulses. It was rushed. It was cheapened at every turn. Its revolutionary aluminum block engine was prone to overheating and warping, often before hitting 30,000 miles. Its body rusted so quickly that holes could appear within 2 years. The interior fell apart. It was a masterclass in failure, a car that failed mechanically, failed its owners, and failed the public trust. The Vega isn't just the worst car of the 60s, it's the blueprint for the American automotive dark age of the 1970s. It is our champion of terribleness. What do you think? Did we get it right? Was the Corvair unfairly maligned? Is there a 60s car you owned that was even worse? Blast your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this dive into automotive infamy fascinated you, we've got more where that came from. Smash that subscribe button, it's the biggest compliment you can give us. Ring the bell so you don't miss our next video, where we'll tackle the top 10 worst cars of the even crazier 1970s. Thanks for riding shotgun today. Remember, drive something you love, even if it's not on this list. See you next time.